Imagine for a moment that you are standing on the surface of the moon. You are looking back at Earth. A blue marble hanging alone in the velvet darkness of space. It looks fragile. It looks quiet. It looks unobserved. We like to believe that we are alone in our solar system. We tell ourselves that until we launched Sputnik in 1957, the space around our planet was empty, a pristine vacuum waiting for human conquest. We were wrong. Before the first rocket ever pierced the atmosphere, before the Wright brothers ever lifted off the ground, and perhaps before human beings ever built their first city, something was already up there, hiding in the darkness, circling in silence, watching. They call it the Black Knight. It is a ghost story of the space age, a legend that spans over 100 years of human history. It links the genius of Nikola Tesla, the military paranoia of the Cold War, and the mysteries of ancient star maps into a single terrifying question. Is there an alien satellite orbiting Earth right now? Has it been monitoring our evolution for 13,000 years? And if it is watching us, what is it waiting for? Tonight, we are not just looking at grainy photos. We are going to peel back the layers of history. We are going to examine the radio signals that shouldn't exist. We are going to analyze the NASA mission logs that defy explanation. We are going to find out if we have been living in a zoo, unaware of the camera pointed right at us. This is the story of the Black Knight satellite. To understand the end of this story, we must go back to the beginning. Not to a launch pad in Florida, but to a wooden laboratory high in the mountains of Colorado Springs. The year is 1899. The man inside is Nikola Tesla. He is a man out of time, a visionary who gave the world alternating current and dreamed of wireless energy. But in 1899, Tesla had left the noise of New York City for the silence of the high altitude. He built a massive receiver, a device designed to track electrical storms as they moved across the Earth. But late one night, as the thunderstorms cleared and the sky went dark, Tesla's equipment began to behave strangely. He was listening to the electromagnetic pulse of the planet. Usually this sounded like chaos, static clicks, the random noise of nature. But that night the chaos stopped, and something else took over. Through the static, a signal emerged. It wasn't continuous. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Beep, 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 beep. 1, 2, 3. Tesla froze. He checked his equipment. He checked for atmospheric disturbances. He checked for interference from the few electrical experiments happening elsewhere in the world. There was nothing. The signal was clean. It was distinct. And terrifyingly, it was intelligent. Decades later, we would call this a pulsar or background cosmic radiation. But Tesla was the master of frequencies. He knew the difference between the random noise of a dying star and a structured signal. He wrote in his diary, "The feeling is constantly growing on me that I had been the first to hear the greeting of one planet to another." The world mocked him. The newspapers called him a mad scientist chasing Martians. But Tesla remained adamant until his death. He insisted that the signal did not come from Mars. It didn't come from the noise of the sun. It came from somewhere closer. Somewhere just outside our atmosphere. He had intercepted a transmission. But a transmission from what? In 1899, humanity had not yet invented the radio as we know it today. There was nothing in the sky but birds and clouds. Unless, of course, the transmitter wasn't ours. Tesla died with his secret. But the signal didn't stop. It was just biding its time. Fast forward 30 years. The roaring 20s. Radio technology had exploded. We were no longer just listening, we were broadcasting. In Oslo, Norway, a civil engineer named Jørgen Hals was conducting experiments for Philips radio. He was sending short-wave transmissions from his backyard. The physics were simple. You send a signal up. It bounces off the ionosphere, the layer of charged particles in our atmosphere, and it comes back down to a receiver. It's an echo. It happens in a fraction of a second. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. Around the Earth, that's almost instantaneous. But Jørgen Hals noticed something that broke the laws of physics. He would send a signal. He would hear the normal echo immediately. And then, silence. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Echo. A second signal would return, faint and ghostly, 3 full seconds later. Hals was baffled. He wrote to Carl Stormer, a famous Norwegian physicist. They conducted a series of controlled tests, and the results were maddening. Sometimes the echo returned after 3 seconds. Sometimes 10. Sometimes 15. Let's put this in perspective. For a radio signal to take 3 seconds to return, it would have to travel nearly 500,000 miles away from Earth, hit something, and bounce back. That is roughly the distance to the moon and back. But the moon wasn't in the right position. And even if it was, the moon is a terrible reflector of radio waves. So, what was reflecting the signal? Scientists called them long delay echoes, or LDEs. For decades they tried to explain them away. Strange plasma clouds? Delays in the ionosphere? None of the math worked. The delay was too long and the signal remained too focused. It wasn't until the space age that a darker theory emerged. What if the signal wasn't bouncing off a natural object? What if it was being recorded? Imagine an automated probe. A Sentinel sitting in Earth's orbit. It detects a new radio signal coming from the surface. Proof that the monkeys down below have finally discovered technology. It captures the signal, analyzes it, processes it, and then transmits it back down to us. A test. A handshake. I hear you. Do you hear me? We didn't understand the handshake in 1928. We just wrote it down as an anomaly and moved on. But the Sentinel was patient. It continued its orbit, waiting for us to catch up. By the 1950s, the world had changed. The atomic bomb had been dropped. The Cold War had frozen the globe in fear. The sky was no longer a place of wonder, it was a place of threat. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a race to see who could conquer space first. Both sides were developing rockets. Both sides were paranoid. And in 1954, that paranoia hit a breaking point. 3 years before the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, which history records as the first artificial satellite, major American newspapers ran a headline that should have been impossible. The St. Louis Dispatch and the San Francisco Examiner published articles claiming that the U.S. Air Force had detected 2 satellites orbiting the Earth. Not 1. 2. This was 1954. We didn't have satellites. The Russians didn't have satellites. If there were metal objects circling the Earth, they could only be one of 2 things. A secret Soviet weapon that was vastly superior to American technology, or something else entirely. The source of the story was Donald Keyhoe, a retired Marine Corps naval aviator and a respected researcher. He claimed the government knew about these objects. He claimed they were trying to track them. The government immediately went into damage control. They issued statements saying the objects were just asteroids, just space debris, just a mistake in the radar. But the radar operators knew better. Asteroids don't maintain a perfect circular orbit. Space debris doesn't fly in formation. And then came the strangest detail of all: the orbit itself. Most satellites, even today, launch towards the east. They follow the rotation of the Earth. It's simple physics. You use the Earth's spin to give the rocket a boost. It's why nearly all satellites orbit around the equator. But these objects, they were in a polar orbit. They were flying north to south, sweeping over the entire globe from pole to pole. In 1954, achieving a polar orbit was an engineering nightmare. It required massive amounts of fuel and precision that neither the Americans nor the Russians possessed. To put a heavy object into a polar orbit meant you had technology decades ahead of anything on Earth. So, who built them? The story vanished from the papers as quickly as it appeared. The military clamped down. 3 years later, Sputnik launched, and the world forgot about the mystery satellites of 1954. But they didn't go away. In 1960, the U.S. Navy's Dark Fence radar system picked up a massive object again. It was huge, estimated to weigh over 15 tons. At the time, our heaviest satellite weighed less than 3,000 pounds. It was big, it was fast, and it was watching us. Up until this point, the Black Knight was just a blip on a radar screen. A ghost in the radio static. We knew where it was, but we didn't know what it was. Or more importantly, when it came from. Enter Duncan Lunnan. In 1973, Lunnan, a Scottish science writer and astronomer, decided to revisit the mystery of the long delay echoes from the 1920s. He felt that we had missed something. He believed the delays, The 3 seconds, the 10 seconds, weren't random errors. They were binary code. He took the delay times and plotted them on a graph. X-axis, Y-axis. As he placed the dots, a pattern began to emerge. It wasn't a sine wave. It wasn't a mathematical formula. It was a picture. It was a star map. Lunnan recognized the constellation immediately. It was Epsilon Boötis, a double star system in the northern sky. The map clearly showed the major stars of the constellation. But there was a discrepancy. The stars were slightly out of position. For a moment, Lunnan thought his theory was wrong. The map didn't look like the sky in 1973. But Lunnan knew that stars are not fixed. They move. They drift through the galaxy over vast periods of time. This is called proper motion. So he ran a computer simulation. He wound the clock backward. He moved the stars back to where they would have been 100 years ago. No match. 1,000 years ago. No match. He kept going back. Deeper into the past. Before the Roman Empire. Before the pyramids. Before the Ice Age ended. Click. At exactly 13,000 years ago, the stars in the map aligned perfectly. The implication was staggering. The probe that sent those echoes wasn't just saying, hello. It was handing us a business card. It was telling us where it came from and when it arrived. According to Lunnan's interpretation, the Black Knight arrived in our solar system 13,000 years ago. It entered Earth's orbit when humans were still hunting mammoths with stone spears. It has been here for the rise of Sumeria. It watched the Egyptians build the Sphinx. It watched the Roman legions march. It watched the bombs drop on Hiroshima. It has seen everything. It is the ultimate historian of the human race. Lunnan eventually retracted parts of his theory, claiming the data might have been flawed. But for many, the retraction felt forced. The coincidence was too precise. The math was too elegant. And the legend of the 13,000-year-old satellite was born. Decades passed. The legend grew in the underground UFO communities, but we lacked one crucial thing: visual proof. We had radar blips. We had radio sounds. But we had never seen the face of the Black Knight. Until December 1998. The Space Shuttle Endeavour. Mission STS-88. This was a critical mission to begin construction on the International Space Station. The crew was busy, focused, and under immense pressure. During one of the spacewalks, the astronauts began taking photographs of the shuttle and the payload bay. These images were uploaded to the NASA website. Buried among thousands of photos of the Earth and the shuttle, eagle-eyed researchers found something that shouldn't have been there. It is widely considered one of the most compelling photos of an anomaly in space ever taken. In the frame, hovering against the black void, is an object. It is pitch black. It is not a rock. It is not a blurry light. It is a solid, structured object with a terrifyingly artificial shape. It looks angular. It has distinct edges. Some say it looks like a predator. Others say it looks like an ancient helmet, a knight's helmet. Hence the name. It drifted silently near the shuttle, dark and ominous. The internet exploded. This was it. The Black Knight. Finally caught on camera. It matched the descriptions from the 1960s. It was in a polar orbit. It was massive. So what did NASA have to say? The official explanation is item number 025570. A thermal blanket. NASA stated that during a spacewalk, astronaut Jerry Ross accidentally lost a trunnion pin cover, essentially a silver insulation blanket. It floated away, and the object in the photo is simply that blanket, crumpled up, twisting in the vacuum of space. They say the black color is due to lighting contrast. The object was backlit by the sun, making it appear dark. They say the strange shape is just pareidolia, our brains trying to make sense of a crumpled piece of foil. It is a logical explanation. It is a safe explanation. But is it the truth? Skeptics argue that a thermal blanket is soft. It is flimsy. In the photos, the Black Knight appears rigid. It has sharp angles that hold their shape as it tumbles. It casts shadows that suggest thickness and heavy machinery, not a thin sheet of foil. Furthermore, the trajectory of the debris didn't match the long-term sightings of the Black Knight. The thermal blanket burned up in the atmosphere within a week. The Black Knight had been reported for decades. Are we supposed to believe that Tesla, the Norwegian engineers, the 1954 newspapers, the US Navy radar, and Duncan Lunnon all hallucinated? And that this photo is just a coincidence? Or is space debris the ultimate convenient excuse? The perfect way to hide the truth in plain sight? Let's step back from the photos and the signals for a moment. Let's look at the bigger picture. Why would it be here? If an advanced civilization wanted to make contact, why not land on the White House lawn? Why hide in the dark for 13,000 years? There is a concept in astrobiology called the Sentinel hypothesis. It suggests that advanced civilizations don't explore the universe in person. It's too dangerous and the distances are too vast. Instead, they send probes. Billions of them. Von Neumann machines, self-replicating robots sent to every star system to sit and wait. They are alarm systems. Maybe the Black Knight isn't here to teach us. Maybe it's not here to help us. Maybe it is a tripwire. It waits for a civilization to reach a certain level of technology. Maybe the trigger is nuclear power. Maybe it's faster than light travel. Maybe it's artificial intelligence. Once we cross that line, the Sentinel wakes up. It sends a signal home. They are ready. Or perhaps, they are dangerous. We look at the Black Knight and we see a mystery. But perhaps the Black Knight looks down at us and sees a test subject. For 13,000 years, it has watched us wage war, build empires, destroy our environment, and reach for the stars. It has seen the best of humanity and the worst. If the signal Tesla heard was the Sentinel waking up, then the timer has been ticking for over a century. So the next time you look up at the night sky, past the moon and the stars, into the deep, silent velvet of space, remember this: we are not alone. We never have been. And whatever is up there, it is watching. And it is waiting. The only question left is, when it finally decides to say hello, will we survive the introduction?